Can you press record, John? Thanks. Okay, yeah, so anyway, on to the presentation. Certainly no longer than 30 minutes. There will be the opportunity for a bit of Q&A at the end, but my intent really is just to zoom through this, and it's really, the purpose here is it is just a high level overview of the potential for self-employed consultants like us to put our content online, and that will become clear as we go through the presentation. Okay, so now that's my PowerPoint. So what I'm going to cover is some of the more common methods. So, we all know this sort of stuff. Common methods self-employed consultants use to generate business, the advantages and disadvantages of the different approaches, but more particularly the advantages and disadvantages of setting yourself up online, and just the basic concept of doing some of your business online. So I'm not proposing this is an all or nothing thing. Obviously, we've got businesses to run, and we'll continue to do both offline and online approaches to it. But my understanding is that many of us as consultants just haven't explored the potential of the online world for doing business. So typically, if we look at the way that we get our business, we're going to get our clients from a combination of both proactive and reactive approaches. The first, clients come to us word of mouth via our network and repeat business. I've never ever been a fan of networking. It really gets me out of my comfort zone. So in many respects, I've probably been lucky to survive in self-employment through people coming to me word of mouth. But the other methods, as you can see, there are ones that you may or may not have thought of or tried. Advertising is something I've certainly done, both online and offline. And there are so many mediums today where we can actually reach our audience in quite a targeted way. The use of LinkedIn and other social media pages is increasingly becoming a promotional marketing strategy. Many of us will have websites, although I'm staggered. I did some research recently. I read somewhere that less than 50% of people in their own small businesses do not have a website, or for those that do, the website is not working for them. It just simply exists there, and people are never going to find it. The more proactive people will be actively putting out for tenders and grants. And I mean, I suppose for all of us, while I hate to do it, the most productive and proactive thing that we can do traditionally is through personal networking. You need to be knocking on doors, meeting people, having meetings, and those sorts of things, and actually putting time aside to do that, because if people don't know you exist and don't know what you've got to offer, well, you're quickly going to get out of business. But again, my contention here is that the online world can help complement that. The traditional income sources for us, again, you'll get no surprises here. We'll have a combination of hourly paid, perhaps lucky enough to work on a project where you get a nice lump sum or some progressive payments, from one-to-one coaching for an hourly rate, the one-to-many approach, running workshops, seminars, conducting speaking engagements, and if you're fortunate enough, the possibility of working for a retainer. Now, some of those have applied to me in my business. The other option, of course, which has always been there, is for people to develop and sell their own products with packaged or off-the-shelf type solutions. Now, these obviously take time to put together, but they're a great way of leveraging time. And this sort of stuff was going on before the online world started to come into play. But increasingly now, I see this as a major way to extend your reach and also to generate additional income. Now, the issue with typical income sources, as you can see, is that if we aren't physically working with clients in that one-to-one capacity, if we're not physically delivering the labour, we're just not going to get paid. Now, all of us understand how lumpy cash flow can be. I've always struggled for the months of November, December, late November, particularly as we then move into Christmas, then January, and often well into February before people even want to talk to you, let alone actually having paid work. Now, that could be just my poor marketing, but I think it's a common problem. So, if we're not there, eyeballing the clients and working with clients, payment is just not going to come. If you do go down the road of developing and selling your own products, you will also obviously need some sort of marketing or distribution strategy for that. So people, unless you tell them about it, aren't going to come knocking on your door saying, oh, what have you got in the way of packages? So again, marketing is a big part of this. So again, the online world can help fill some of those gaps in our business development strategy. So the concept, if you have something to share, you can turn that into a digital product to sell. And the sorts of things that we can share are things like, obviously, our intellectual property, our knowledge, skills that you may have developed, which you're in a position to teach other people, passing on opinions, or just working in some area that you're completely passionate about. And potentially, the question really remains then is, what material do you and I have that might be suitable for online consumption or distribution? So let's just look briefly at what some of those options might be. Did you think of, and have you ever thought of, things like the knowledge, the intellectual property that you've gained through your career, any sort of information that you enjoy working with, that you're in a position to pass on to others? So we're talking here about the how-to industry, content that could be perhaps turned into an ebook, or it doesn't have to be an ebook, it can be hardcover, but we're talking here about digital products. It could be things like actual tools or implements, so things like software programs, online games, any diagnostic or analytic material where you can help people solve problems, things like checklists, blueprints, templates, methodologies or approaches that you use to carry out particular tasks, and so on. It could be various documents that you're in a position to prepare or that you already have prepared. It could be reports that you've had to write, personal research that you've conducted and prepared some content around, maybe case studies of situations that you've worked with clients on, that you could turn into an interesting story, which is a model for the way that other people could solve a problem that they have. Obvious sorts of documents include manuals, guides, or other how-to type content. Yet more detailed, a self-paced or interactive course, or perhaps a package of training or course modules that could be downloaded or provided on a membership subscription. Delivering your content by webinar, podcast, and you can either do that in a live fashion like we're doing now, and or recorded copies. So yes, one of the reasons that we're recording this is, of course, we can actually duplicate this time that I'm spending and broadcast it to other people. The content's not going to change, just the audience. So again, I see this as a sort of a no-brainer way of doing some business. And the other thing would be actual services that you provide, actually promoting these online. So this could be things that you offer for a fixed price on a case-by-case basis. So you're selling your time for a fixed outcome. And these are the obvious areas like coaching, counselling, planning, problem diagnosis, problem solving. The issue, though, here with actual services like coaching, counselling, and so on, is that there's no time leverage there. That's that old model that if you're not actually physically present delivering the content, you're not going to get paid. Whereas some of those other on the bullet list that you see there are things that can be duplicated, and you prepare it once and it's done. It's then a matter of how you're going to get it to your audience. So the advantages, as I see it, and hopefully you'd agree, that for online distribution is the ability to leverage your time, but also to expand your reach into the marketplace. So the concept is you prepare the material. Ideally, you do it once, you distribute it online, and you distribute it often, and you distribute it to many people. Clearly, once you become familiar with the online environments and how to reach audience, you can definitely expand your reach to people who are actively looking for your solution online, and that's via targeted marketing. I mean, you don't need me to tell you that the first place most people go today when they have a problem they want to solve will be to go and do a Google search. And if that's where people are looking for solutions, if you and I are in the business of solving people's problems, that's where we need to have a presence. Beyond that, expanding your your reach, much larger geographic coverage, expanding your business hours. So in the online world, you can literally be open for business 24/7, 365 days a year if you wish. That presents, I think, a magnificent opportunity to create some more consistent cash flow, getting over some of the humps and bumps, particularly those holiday periods or typical down periods in the life cycle of your business. The other often overlooked factor, I think, with online distribution and marketing products online is that you can make initial offers to people, but once you've developed a know, like, trust situation with people who are looking at your material, you're definitely in a strong position to move to upsell and to offer additional products and services to them. The disadvantages of doing this, it definitely takes time to develop content into digital form. And, you know, we're coming up again to that Christmas period. Where has the year gone? But we're coming up to a traditional slow period. And what I'll be doing definitely will be using those slower months to continue to develop more online content. The other thing I think that puts people off, I think, is just simple lack of know-how, but basically it's really, really simple to do. Put it this way, if you have the ability to prepare a PowerPoint, or if you've got the ability to write a 1 or 2 or a 5 or a 10-page document, you have the ability to actually put that online, and you can certainly learn how to do that. Others are often perhaps blocked because they don't necessarily have the tools and equipment, but today with the sort of technology available to us, there's not a lot of overhead in actually putting content online. And also, you definitely need to have a different strategy when you are marketing your products online. So there's potentially a learning curve there. And for some people, all of that might sound too hard. Well, I guess what I'd say in response to that is, are you being proactive or reactive in your business? So if you're relying on those traditional methods and you're prepared to wear the bumps of not having an online presence, if you're prepared to wear extended periods of not having any cash flow just because you've got no way of reaching your clients, so be it. But I think there's just a brilliant opportunity here. And again, from my own personal experience, the time taken to leverage your intellectual property, put it out there online, just significantly outweighs those disadvantages that we've looked at. So now just turn to a very basic overview of what's doing business in a digital economy actually looks like. So you must have an online presence in order to acquire customers. That's where your customers are looking, therefore you need to be online. And a really interesting thing to do, and I'm surprised how many people don't this, maybe it's narcissistic of me to have done this, but to actually look up my own name online. And it's really interesting just to see what comes up. And I've run this workshop for other people where others in the room just are not listed in the first 5 or 10 pages of Google results. They just simply do not have an online presence. And there are lots and lots of ways that you can do that. The other thing is that in the digital world, if you're running a business in the digital world, you need at least one of the things that you see listed here. First of all, a way to attract very interested prospects. So typically in the consultant space, we're operating in the knowledge economy, the how-to economy. Again, to repeat, people will be going online looking for providers of those solutions, and often they'll be looking for the convenience of digital delivery of those products. You also perhaps would need, well, you definitely need one of those things: a physical product to sell, maybe a coupon or a special offer that you can get people to download, which ultimately leads to a conversation. And you don't necessarily even have to develop your own products. That last point illustrates that we can potentially have the option of selling another person's product and earning a commission from that. So if you've got a consulting business and you have colleagues and associates who have online products, it's likely that they would entertain a deal where if you promote their product for them, and subsequently generate sales, you can start to earn affiliate commissions. And there are sites like ClickBank, for example, where you can actually do some searching for organisations that are looking for people to act as referral marketers. So again, that's an often overlooked business approach. Just to take this slightly one step further, the terminology sales funnel is rife today, and it describes a process for acquiring customers. So the way that a sales funnel works is that you actually create an offer. This is a product, something that you know your customers and your clients need. That could be something that you put on websites, something that you include in a blog. You could have an existing email list where you have the ability to reach people. You have the option also of doing some paid advertising, whether that be online or offline. You can certainly broadcast what you have to offer through those traditional means that we've talked about, through personal networking. But of course, social media is rife today. LinkedIn, the emergence of LinkedIn over the last couple of years has been fascinating to witness. But certainly Facebook, Twitter, Instagram and Messenger are all legitimate platforms for reaching an audience. So the concept here with the sales funnel is that you're aiming to develop an audience of people who first of all get to know you, and in that knowing process come to like you and what it is that you have to offer, and from that liking to develop a stronger relationship, that of trust. And you begin that process by creating a free gift, some sort of opt-in gift, and you do that in exchange for an email address. So this is a value exchange. You put something out there in the online space which has the potential to attract the interest of your audience. You're prepared to offer it for free on the condition they give you an email address. And I want to say at this point too that having an email address is critically important to your ability, I think, to expand your market reach. Once you have an email address, you have the ability to continuously market to people who've trusted you enough to give that to you. You obviously don't abuse that trust by sending them rubbish. You've got to provide value. But an email list is a critical asset, I believe, for any business today. Once you actually have a person's email address, you then start to design a follow-up sequence, which ideally leads to sales. So you would put out online, here's my gift, please give me your email address. The follow-up sequence is, yep, we've got your email address, thanks for signing up. Here's your ebook and download it. And I think just about every person I've spoken to has done something like that online. From that initial gift, you then start to think about something that you could offer for initial sale, which is called a tripwire. Typically, this is really a low-cost item which provides lots of value. It's a splinter from the core product that you're offering. It's a segment, a tiny segment that has value from perhaps the core product that you'd ultimately like to sell. And the other good thing, I think, once you begin to learn the ropes, is actually automating this whole process. So again, an automated follow-up process using email would be sign up success, deliver your promised gift, email 2, 3, 4, and 5, start to educate them about who you are, what good business is about, not necessarily with any attempt to sell, but to get them to a position where they start to understand who you are and where you're coming from. Once you've started to develop that relationship, then you're in a position to make that initial tripwire offer, which again is that low-cost item, and then subsequent emails more about providing value to people, ultimately to get to a position where you can upsell with a core offer, which could be anything from 50 to literally thousands of dollars. Again, each business will be different in terms of what they offer, but that's the concept of a sales funnel. So that's a very quick snapshot of is an automated, fully automated online income a dream, or is it a reality? And look, lots and lots of people are doing this already. So I guess the questions I want to leave you with really are you struggling to get clients? Do you suffer from intermittent cash flow? Like me, do you hate networking and cold calling? Hate it. do you have knowledge, skills, opinion, or research that you could share? Now, if you answered yes to any of those, my question then is, why aren't you doing business online? Simple as that. So if you want to learn more about this, so this, as I said at the beginning of the presentation, is a high-level overview of what this concept's about. So I'm going to run a second webinar on the 27th of September, and I'll be giving you more details about that in the email that I'm going to send you with the replay of today's session. Now, in that next webinar, I'm going to go much more deeply into the how-to of taking some first steps to get your business online. So I want to delve a lot more deeply into what the whole end-to-end process looks like of from designing a product through to actually getting it online and successfully marketing it, so that you understand step by step what the process is likely to involve. And then how to decide what product or service to sell. Some criteria that I've developed there, which hopefully will make it easier for you to decide, is this a good thing? Is it likely to be worth your while? I want to talk also about what the design of a sales funnel looks like in more depth, and how you lead people through that funnel to the point where they're in a position to consider your more expensive core offer. And I'll also outline for you the sorts of tools. So look out for that follow-up email. And if you've liked what you heard today in our session, I'd love if you join me for that next step in this amazing process. Also, in either return email or in chat in this forum here, let us know what more you'd like to know on the topic of taking some of your elements of business online. What are the questions that you've got that you'd be looking for us to help answer? And I'll stop the share there, and we'll just see if there are any questions in chat, or if people would like to unmute and come out. I'm more than happy to take some questions. So, anybody? We've got a question in chat. Thanks, Anne. And you're saying I followed the process with. Yes, I'm not sure what you mean by that, but yeah, thank you for your comment, Anne. Okay. All right. Look, as I say, I'm recording this. I'll be sending you the replay of this in the next day or so, with also some details of how to register for the second webinar, which, as I said, we'll be delving much more into the actual how-tos. So hopefully this has provided some value to you, and I just want to thank you for the interest that you've shown here, and I hope this has been a good use of your time. So on behalf of all the crew at thoughtconnected.com.au, this is Anthony McAvaney saying have a